Hi, and welcome back to Crafty Chaos. Anything that I talk about will have a link or at least be mentioned down below. Um, if you watched my last video, you saw me begin the organization process of my yarn stash, and the video was mostly um, my sock yarn that I don't have a lot of plans for, where I kind of bought it because it was pretty and I was like, oh, I can make a hat. Oh, I can make it with a shawl. And then it just sat there. So going through it all, um, I saw how much I had. I decided to organize it by color instead of brand like I used to. And that really helped me to realize that I had a lot more of certain colors and types than I realized. It made it easier for me to find projects that I wanted to make. I was able to get rid of a lot of stuff and give it to some friends and donate it to a middle school that hosts a art project craft time. All that stuff was really great to get rid of. It made me feel better. It was mostly things that either I had in a mystery club that I joined years ago, or they were gifts or free, like the free skeins you win sometimes in raffles, where they were nice, but I had no plans for it, and some of them I liked, but I didn't have enough to make anything with. So those have gone to new homes, and hopefully other people will get a lot of joy out of them. And I get the joy of not having it in my stash, making me feel guilty all the time. I've also, one of the things I did in the past couple weeks is I went through my Ravelry queue, resort my patterns that I have already tagged and like posted in my queue, and put them in the order of like how much I want to do them right now. And then I print it out and take it with me into my stash room because I'm not great about keeping things up to date in my Ravelry stash. And sometimes it just helps to see things laid out next to each other. So I printed that out, and while I was sorting things, it helped me to match some yarn with some projects. Way of dealing with that this year, before I would assign a project bag, which is, this is my work in progress pile. That's not necessarily works in progress. Last year, what I decided to do was to preload bags with projects so that when I'm ready to start something new, everything is ready, set to go. All I might have to do is wind the yarn and find the needles. That didn't work out so great. There's a lot of stuff that either I started and didn't like and then just left it in the bag thinking, oh, I'll get back to it later. One of the projects is from a couple years ago when I broke my hand, and I had started the project before I broke my hand, and then I was not allowed to knit for a while. I think it was like 2 months. I couldn't knit at all, so that the bones would heal and I could actually not have surgery, because I really didn't want to have surgery. And it's just been sitting in the bag ever since. So one of the problems I have is if I don't see it, I forget that it exists. And then then I'll go and I'll look for something else in a store and get really entranced by this really pretty, beautiful yarn that's on the wall and want to buy that instead of using what I already have. And so I decided that I was going to it really does help me to have things together in one place, because I've had projects where I thought I had 6 skeins of something, and then I go and I can only find 5 and I don't know where that 6th skein is, so I don't use that yarn. So what I did was I went on Amazon and I found 2-gallon storage bags. I've been putting all my projects in storage bags that are already assigned and the yarn is accounted for, so that I can just grab the bag, wind the yarn, grab the needles, and put it in a cute project bag. And then I don't have to dig through the stash and find all the skeins that are part of that group. Or if I decide on colors, because I last year had decided I really wanted to make a Moon Crush tank, which I still do, but I had figured out colors I wanted to use that I had the right yardage for. But I didn't put it into any set place so that I would remember. And now I forgot what colors I was going to use. I possibly used one of those colors in a different project. Who knows? But that's what my plan is for now. And so far, it's working pretty well. I'm trying really hard to not cast on too many projects at the same time, or at least too many of the same kind of project. I always have a on the go project, which is usually either socks or a hat. The ones I have right now are, it's Chibiusa, I think, is the name of the colorway from Nomadic Yarns. And it's my purse sock. And whenever I'm waiting to pick up my kids or waiting in line somewhere, I work on this, and it works up pretty fast that way. The other thing that I casted on, because I forgot it upstairs. I finished my St. Catherine's cardigan. It just needs to be blocked, so hopefully next time I'll have that set up. So I was really excited to cast on my EZV that I got the yarn from I got the yarn from Stricka Yarn Shop. It's my local yarn shop. And this is how it's going so far. And I really am loving how it's turning out. The yellow is Ancient Arts in birch leaves, and it's the Herlig. I'm so sorry, I'm saying that weird. The DK. And then Junction Fiber Mills Making Tracks is a really pretty, like, plied yarn where it has the different colors that make a really pretty barber pole marled effect. And I think the colors are the Deep End, which is this darker blue, then Daybreak, which is the more orangey colors, and then this blue teal aqua is Birdsong, I think. I'm not sure if I'm switching the two blues, but the three colors I used are the Deep End, Daybreak, and Birdsong. And I just finished the color work yoke last night, and I'm really excited. I am putting the unrealistic goal on myself to have it finished by next Thursday, because I'm going to be teaching a class at Stricka on the double felted slippers, and I have those finished right here. They're super warm. We had a bit of a cold snap in Washington a couple weeks ago where it got down to 16 where I'm at, which is really, really cold. And so those were fantastic to wear around the house to keep my feet warm, because I am not a fan of wearing socks around the house. The other thing that I've been working on, let me find the bag. When I was first making my EZV, I had picked out two other colors along with the Daybreak, but they weren't working out the way that I wanted to. One was a solid of the Ancient Arts, and it was in Fortuitous. And the other color, I thought I had it here, but it is somewhere else. It was another like purple color. I think it's January Nights. And the Daybreak and January Nights were lining up too close to each other at a certain point where you couldn't tell the difference. And then I wasn't loving how the two of the yarns were variegated, but this was really solid and it was a really dark chunk. So I decided to keep those two skeins to the side and use them for a different project and replace it with the two blues that I ended up with. And while I was thinking about that and not completely decided on the project, I was impatient and decided to cast on for the Raincheck vest. I think it's a vest. By Elizabeth Smith. And this is super deep stash. It's Swan Island worsted in the color Fig. And I haven't gotten much done, but I've got it started. And it's a pretty nice mindless knit. You only have to really pay attention to this traveling yarn over for a decorative detail. And every couple of rows I have to pay attention to decreases. But for the most part, it's really nice, just straight stockinette knitting. And it gets rid of 3 skeins of worsted weight that I had in my stash that I bought because it was on sale, and realized 3 skeins was not enough to do anything with at the time. So really excited to have that. It's gonna be a really nice layering piece for indoors or just like in between seasons here. While I was looking through my stash and looking through my queue and things, I found some patterns that I really, really want to knit now. Like, I want to have them now. And I convinced myself to not cast on all of them at once. But as soon as one of my 2 cast-ons right now are done, I want to cast on for the Prima Donna Turban. I was watching Dr. Charlie Untangled. She had talked about making a silk hat to be more gentle on her textured hair. So I had some silk yarn that I really loved it, but I only have 2 skeins of this, and I didn't know what to make with it. I had originally gotten it to make a gift for my sister-in-law because she is allergic to wool, and so it's very there's very few fibers that I can knit with, and she lives in a really cold climate. So there's very few fibers I can knit with and make something for her that doesn't make her physically uncomfortable. So I had gotten this Malabrigo Mora in the Aguas colorway years ago. I had gotten 2 skeins of it, and I had gotten 2 skeins of something else, and that was also silk. And I made her one of the cowls, but I didn't have time to make her anything with this. And I really didn't want to get rid of it because I really love this color, and it's silk yarn. So I started looking for turbans, and I remembered this one designer had really cute turban patterns, and I'd seen other people make them, and I wanted to make them, but I never had anything in mind to use for it. And so between finding this yarn, seeing Dr. Charlie Untangled talk about her silk hat, I went and I looked for Poison Grrls. They don't have their patterns available on Ravelry. They have a website, and so I went to their website and I bought the Prima Donna turban, which is their plain. I think they use a mohair. It looks fuzzy. I didn't double check. But I thought that would be a really nice combination. And once I grow my hair longer and I can put my hair up in a bun again, that would be a really nice thing to have for when I want my hair up, but I am cold and I need some kind of head covering hat, something to help keep me warm. So I really, really, really want to cast on that. So I think that's going to be, once I finish one of these 2 projects, that's going to be the next thing that I cast on. Another small project that I want to work on is, I really like the Cottage hair accessory set from Wool and Pen. And I really like the bows. I think they're super cute and sweet. And I really like the scrunchie pattern that she has. And I found, once again, I found some yarn that I got because it was pretty and had no plans for. And it's just been sitting there. And it's a collaboration between Serial Knitters, which is my old yarn shop, my old local yarn shop that has sadly closed, and Black Trillium Fibers. And this one is called Star, and it's Mongolian cashmere and silk. So super luxurious. But it's 400 yards. So I'm trying to decide, do I want to make hair accessories with this? I might change my mind, but that's a tentative thing. I could also see how much, if I have any of the silk left over from the turban, and see if I can make at least one of the patterns from the hair accessories kit. The next garment that I'm really excited and have strong plans for is the LuLu Slipover from Petite Knit. I'm finding that when I'm outside, or if it's early in the morning, or if I'm just sitting still, I get really cold and chilly and I need cardigans and sweaters and things. But when I go into shops, or if I'm around a lot of people, I get overheated easily. And so I'm looking at making more vests and like layering pieces. And the LuLu Slipover seemed like a really great pattern for that kind of thing, because it's a vest, for the lack of a better word, but it's very loosely fit, and it just is attached kind of at the hips area. And so there's a big open space on the sides that will hopefully help me not get overheated, but help keep my chest warm and keep me from getting too chilled. And I have some really pretty Barocco vintage that I got at last year's Puget Sound yarn crawl. I really love this jewel green color. And so I have that, and I'm really excited about getting started on that. Some other projects that I'm planning on making soon is, let me double check how you pronounce this one. Assookinakii. I will have a picture, or at least write it down somewhere. The DK cowl, and it's a pattern by Candace English, who is the woman behind Farmer's Daughter Fibers, and she started a foundation called Sisters United that are empowering and supportive Native American women. But I'm really excited about doing that. That's going to be a knit along with my LYS, and that's going to start up in February. So I will probably be working on that as well, as well as you will be seeing another pair of felted slippers, because I'm going to be teaching that class. And it's really, I find it very difficult to teach a class and not be making the thing alongside the students. Pondering projects, which are things I want to make that I know I technically have yarn for, but I need to think about the color combinations and how to actually plan out the yarn that I want to use. And the number one that I want to make is the Ferda sweater by Anna and Heidi Pickles. It's a really neat color work sweater, and the pattern calls for a main color and 3 contrasting colors. But I was looking at the yardage and possibly looking at the construction of the sweater, and I was thinking that I could use about 9 skeins that were 8 to 9 skeins that were different colorways. And so like maybe one of the colorways, there's 2 skeins that are the same, so that I can have the collar, wrists, the cuffs, and the waistband all match. But I was thinking that a lot of my random variegated skeins could look really cool in that project. But that's going to take a lot of planning of making sure that there's enough contrast between colors as I line up the things. So I'm going to have to think about that one. Another project that I really want to make, but it's going to take a lot of thought and planning, is the End Times cardigan by Amy Gunderson. I have a lot of scrap yarns, and it's meant for that kind of project of you have small amounts left of different kinds of yarns, and so the more colors that you put together, the more interesting it can become. But I also have a Plank and Stella Halloween countdown mini skein set that I've been trying to figure out what to use it with. And I have to check and see if I have enough yardage with that set, because that could be a really cool project. With this channel, I've been talking a lot about the yarn because that's the largest resource that I have in my craft room, in my croffice, as my friend likes to call it. But another thing that I have a lot of that I haven't shown yet is fabric. I have been sewing since I was in high school. One of my graduation presents from my family was a sewing machine. And I have a lot of fabric that I've also collected for a really long time over the years, and go through phases of sewing a lot and then not sewing anything for a while, partly because my least favorite part of sewing is cutting things out. I hate the cutting out process. I hate laying out the fabric. I hate laying out the pattern. I hate then like pinning things so everything lays flat. I like the sewing it together and making the final thing. But some projects that I want to make in the near future, I have a pattern from Indigobird Designs that's it's the knot bag. And it's one of those bags where one strap is shorter than the other, so you can loop them over, and then you can put it over your wrist, and that way you can like walk around, and I can knit with that walking around. And so there's a lot of yarn, a lot of fabric that I have that I would really like to make some project bags for. The larger projects that I want to sew are, I want another pair of Winslow culottes. I made a pair years ago, and it was my first time sewing with a more silky fabric. It was I forget what it was, but it was some kind of like rayon blend. And I loved those pants. They were so fantastic, but I wore them to the point, like when I had first made them, it was one of the first things I made with a serger, and I accidentally cut a hole in like the very front panel, and I fixed it, and unless you looked real close, nobody could see it, but I knew it was there. And the fabric didn't launder as well as I had hoped, and so after a while, they kind of started looking real ratty. And I got rid of them, and sadly I have not made another pair since. And so I need to remedy that. Along with, I really want to make some more York Pinafores. Those are both patterns from Helen's Closet, and I've made both of them before, and I loved them. And I still have 2 of my York Pinafores, but I've gained some weight since I made those, and while they still fit, they're a little too short to be comfortable for me to wear out in public. And so I'd like to make some more of those. Another thing I really love that I've made is the cabin top from Blueprints for Sewing. It's one of the most comfortable cotton tops. It's super simple to make, and for construction, it fits really well. It doesn't pull in any weird ways. And so I want to make some more of those. So there's probably going to be another video sometime soon talking about my fabric stash and plans for these patterns. The last 2 patterns that I want to make that I have not sewn before is I want to make 2 patterns from Seamwork. One is the Joss pants. I think it's Joss. And those are just like some baggy, loose fitting pants that are the perfect thing that I like to wear around here for summertime. The other thing I've been wanting to make, and I've tried making variations of it, is the Quince jacket. I really want like a robe type jacket that is just another light layering piece. And I forget which one. There was another pattern that I tried a couple years ago that the measurements were not great because I made, according to the schematic, the largest size should have fit me, and I cut it out. I sewed it together. I had all the pieces, and the sleeves could not go over my arms. I don't have particularly large arms for my overall size. Like, I've never had a problem with sewing patterns with the arms fitting properly. And so that was really frustrating because I had invested some really nice fabrics into making that, and then it was nowhere near going to fit me. So that kind of sat in a timeout for a long time. And so I think I'm ready to try that again. And the Quince jacket measurements, not only am I not the largest size on their schematics, but Seamwork patterns I've done really well with Seamwork patterns before. I've made a couple of them, and their dimensions tend to work out better for me. That's the sewing projects that I have planned for the next couple months. So another thing that I want to do that I mentioned in my very first video is I wanted to try the things that I have, that I've bought projects kits for that have kind of just been sitting there because I've been too intimidated to either start them, or there's a step that I didn't want to do that is keeping me from actually working on the project. The first thing I want to do, and I want to film the process of me doing it so that you could possibly struggle along with me if you wanted to. I got this Urban Acres punch needle kit a couple years ago. Punch needling was one of the things I could do when I broke my hand without aggravating my injury. And I really liked this kit in particular. The only problem was that I didn't realize the pattern was not on the canvas. And while that's not a problem, the problem I have with it is that means I have to actually draw the pattern on there. And that's a step too far sometimes for me. So trying to figure out the best way to transfer the pattern has kept me from doing that project for a long time, and I'd like to remedy that. Another thing that I really want to, that I already have and I really want to make because it was fun when I took a class, Elizabeth Zosel, I think is how you pronounce her last name. And she's a clay artist. She has her own YouTube channel and she has an Instagram profile, and that's Minnie's Shop per class. And she was such an amazing teacher. I really loved the whole process of her class. I took her owl and pumpkin class, and even though my owls turned out more like Furbies, it was a lot of fun. And I went ahead and I bought a couple of her kits, and I know I got the succulent and I got the mushroom kits. And so I really would I'd like to have those things because I think they're super cute, and it was a lot of fun to make it, but I kind of need some accountability to make sure that I actually do the thing. The last thing that I have no pattern for, I just have an idea, is my Instagram keeps showing me the gaming pillow that is, it looks like a boppy that has a little snap on the back so you can attach it to your waist. And I thought it was kind of dumb because when I'm sitting on the couch, I just use pillows to prop up my elbows. that I've done that for a long time because I've had some rotator cuff issues, and when I broke my hand, I needed to keep my hand elevated. And so like I've been doing that for a really long time. But one of the things I've been trying to do to encourage myself to like really enjoy this space is I've been trying to work in my crofts more. And so I'll knit in here and I'll watch YouTube while I'm on my computer and things. And I'm finding myself having more issues like maintaining good posture and supporting my elbows. And I really don't want to pay $60 to $70 for a gaming pillow. And so I'm going to say this on the internet, so now I have to do it. I want to try and draft my own pattern and make one of those so that I can be more comfortable when I'm working at my desk. The one last thing I have to show off, I have to brag. So for Christmas, I got my husband a laser cutting machine. I can't remember what they're called. And he was super cute, and he made me a yarn caddy with my channel's name on it, and he decorated it because I had shown him some of my Limit Wood fiber ones, and he made me my own, and it's super cute and I love it. And I'm going to be using it now that it's dry and complete, and it's really awesome. And I think that's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed your time with me, and happy crafting. See you later.